Welcome to the show. My name is John. It is great to see you guys. It is live at 8, and this is episode 8 of season 2. So good to be with you guys. For those that are watching this at wearemission.online, what's up? For you guys on Instagram TV, good to see you. And let's see, to YouTube, a whole bunch of people are watching this on YouTube. So at the end of our live cast, we have a link, and that gets shared. So folks are watching this on YouTube. You can comment there on YouTube. You can share the link from YouTube. And then a whole bunch of people are listening to this audio style on the podcast while you're working out, cutting your lawn. No matter how you are engaging with this content, man, I'm so pumped that you are. And today is Wellbeing Wednesday with Brian Silver. What's up, Brian? How we doing, buddy?
Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. I know. It's episode 8. We're taking some ground here in season 2.
Amazing, isn't it?
We're nearing double digits.
Time flies, man.
It does. It does. And it's been so great. I've heard so much feedback already from what you and I have been talking about on Wednesdays. Mental health. Oh, my goodness. It is such a top priority for me right now as a church. We're trying to equip our people, friends, truly anyone that will give us some time on Wednesdays around mental health, around getting unstuck. So many folks, including ourselves at times, have found ourselves struggling quite a bit, feeling stuck. And so what we've been talking about for the past couple episodes is all around strategies that really can help us get unstuck, strategies if we're struggling. And it's been awesome, Brian. So this is, I guess this is the third week, right, of you and I talking about strategy number 3 if we're struggling. So the last two, the first strategy that we talked about was all around radical acceptance, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was it. And then last week was so important. We talked about removing these roadblocks and ruts around guilt. I've heard from a lot of people on that one that put the finger on the nerve ending. So many folks, especially at least in the Chicagoland area, man, that is a biggie. And so we're on our third of 6 strategies for those that are struggling in the midst of everything going on. So what's number 3, man? Bring it. What do we got?
Yeah, so 3, today we're going to work on re-engaging the present moment.
Okay. Yes.
I'm
seeing an R pattern, and I like it.
Yes. Yeah, I tried to stick with an R theme. I think I got it for all 6 of them. We'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
Hold me accountable, everyone. So this is one of the hardest things for most of us to do, to be fully present in the present moment is such an incredibly valuable thing and something that our culture doesn't teach us to do, and we just don't do instinctively because of the chaos around us. We're pulled in 1,000 different directions, and the more overwhelmed and anxious we get, and of course nobody in this season is anxious or overwhelmed, the more overwhelmed and anxious we get, the less present we become by default, because we're so distracted and so pulled in 1,000 different directions. I thought I would take a minute. I wanted to share an excerpt from something that I journaled about a handful of years ago. That might be helpful.
Yes.
In framing this. So this was written on April 9th, 2016. I said, just moments ago, I stepped out of my children's bedroom after finally succeeding in lulling my 3-year-old and my 8-month-old to sleep. My daughter's bedtime story was interrupted multiple times by my son squirming toward her on the bed, making them both laugh and re-energizing their tiny, overtired bodies. In the middle of singing them their lullaby, a sudden need for a diaper change further disturbed the already broken routine. My daughter eventually drifted off, and although my son was clearly exhausted, he was fighting hard and was crawling up my chest and pushing out of my arms. I wrestled him, I bounced him, and I sang to him. And eventually he gave up the hour-long fight and went to sleep. I'm ashamed to say that for the majority of that hour, I was frustrated, agitated, and even somewhat disconnected from the process. See, I had a plan in mind for the evening. My plan was to get the kids off to bed quickly so that I could straighten up and have some uninterrupted time to read and to do some writing. The irony was that I would be writing on surrender this evening, and I was actually derailing my time with my kids by clinging to control. When I suddenly became aware of my hypocrisy, I fought to salvage my misguided approach and refocused my attention on being fully present with my son for the last bit of the hour before he drifted off. When people ask me about what is most important in this season of my life, my answer is always that I am trying to soak up every moment I can with my children. And yet in this particular moment, I chose control, and I found myself distant from my children while singing them to sleep. And then I add, if I read back through the account of my evening with my children through the lens of surrender, I see that I could have had moments of laughter, of meaningful struggle, of intimacy and connection. By focusing on my agenda, I missed most of that. So
that's great. That's from your journal.
Yeah. Yes. I was journaling about some writing that I was going to be doing on surrender. And
I mean, my journal entries are like, had a bag of Doritos today.
to be fair,
my dog didn't listen too well, but my wife loves me.
Yeah.
Dude, that was amazing. I'm not surprised. I mean, wow.
No, I'm not a good journaler, but I do write a lot because I do a lot of thinking about this stuff. And so I'm calling it a journal, but it was more kind of brainstorming around this surrender stuff as I was wrestling with this myself.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, because my wife would laugh at me if she heard me call it a journal. She's like, he's not that disciplined. He just so, honey, if you happen to be, you can type in, but anyway, so I imagine that most of us can relate on some level to this, this struggle to be present in the present moment the best way.
Yeah.
And so psychology has given a lot of attention to this idea of mindfulness. It's a buzzword these days. Everybody's heard mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Right? Mindfulness is a lot of different things. But in psychology, probably the most useful way to think about mindfulness is learning to engage the present moment in the healthiest and most helpful way. Or another way to say it would be learning to embrace the best version of the present moment. So in that example, the best version would have been for me to embrace the struggle with my son, embrace the laughter. I didn't, unfortunately, but that would have been better. Other examples, when I am making breakfast for the kids, there's a temptation to start checking my email, right? And I can't be present with my email and present with my kids.
Yep.
I can't be present with my wife. I talked about last season watching a guitar video while my wife was trying to talk to me. Did not work out very well, right? We have to be present in the present moment, not just because it's good practice, but because that's where we find life in the midst of chaos. It's not in all the different directions that we're pulled. It's not in the past. It's not in the future. It's right here in the most engaged version of the present moment. So the way that we would talk about it in psychology is we would say, if you're eating, eat. Like, just sit and eat. And notice the texture and the flavor and, all that, right? If you're answering your emails, answer your emails. If you're playing with your kids, play with your kids. If you're on a date with your spouse, be on a date with your spouse.
Yes.
If you're reading, read. If you're laying on the beach and listening to the waves, lay on the beach and listen to the waves. This is hard stuff for us. We have been deceived and pulled away from this so masterfully. It's fascinating. C.S. Lewis, who some of you know wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and all that stuff. He's written a lot of stuff, and he also wrote a book called The Screwtape Letters. The Screw Tape Letters is a fictional account that C.S. Lewis wrote about a sort of a high-level demon teaching other demons how to mess with us. And in one of the chapters, this high-level demon is teaching his underlings about how to pull us out of the present moment. He argues, he says, okay, guys, if we want to really mess with them, it's critical to keep them from the present, because it's in the present that people encounter the presence of God and discover how to embrace the best, most engaged, and most freed versions of themselves. We've got to keep them in the past and the future. We've got to keep them distracted with those things and reaching until they numb out and kind of get into habit mode. And in fact, the way he describes it is kind of like staring off into a cold, dead fire. And the image that I got was staring onto a cold, dead screen, just scrolling endlessly.
Yep.
Numbed out, distracted. We don't even have to fight them anymore, the demon says, because they're not even fighting they're not even reaching for the past or the present anymore, the past or the future anymore. They're so disengaged entirely that we don't need to worry about the present. They don't remember it anymore. Just scroll and scroll. And this is so damaging. We're losing ourselves. And we can be found, our life can be found in the present moment, because as the demon was afraid of, God's presence is found in the present moment. Many of us feel lost in this season. We need direction. We're not sure what to do. And we scramble, we pull the covers over our head, but we don't think to stop and just be present. And here's the thing, when we're lost, we can't listen for direction unless we're present. How do you listen when you're not present?
Right. I mean, as you're talking, it reminds me of, that passage in Isaiah that says, forget the former things, and then he says, behold, which is like, a really important word. I'm doing something new, like right now in this present moment. And, the past is really important. It's a great place to learn from, but not live in. Right. And in the future is really important to desire, certainly when it comes to eternity, but again, not a great place to live in. But like he just says, behold, like, do not see it, do not perceive it. I am doing something new right now in your midst. And I'll admit it has been something I've been practicing for about 3 years, and I just call it notice the new. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
And so I have this practice and it feels clumsy, but I'm out there walking. I leave my phone in the car most times, and I'm just trying to notice the new things that God is doing right now in my midst. And bro, the training wheels are on for me, but it's really been helpful because I can easily kind of live in the past. For me, the biggest temptation is live in the future. I'm a futurist, think about vision, the future all the time, but God is teaching me how to notice the new, that right now he's breaking in. There is incredible things that he's wanting to say to me and show me and soothe in me in this very present moment right now. And I'm just learning how important it is to, like, that word notice feels so, I don't know, like not amazing or not massively important, but like it is a really important thing. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah. Yeah. What you're just, we use in psychology, we talk about noticing a lot. I reference fairly often material from a type of therapy called dialectical behavior therapy. I've mentioned that before, DBT.
DBT.
It's a behavioral-based therapy. I'm an eclectic therapist. I use a lot of stuff, but there's some great skills-based tools in DBT. And one of the things that DBT talks about is observe and describe.
Oh, I like that.
So take a moment in the present and observe and describe. I notice the microphone in front of my face. I notice the pastor in the hat of the day across from me.
Birthday hat.
Nice.
I got a few for my birthday. I've got a little bit of a hat issue, but keep noticing. Describe.
That's right. I notice the stack of game boxes that my laptop is sitting on, so that my laptop has a place to
all right. Now, hey, right now, let me ask you this. So as you notice things that maybe you would be critical of, like, what do you do with that? So let's just say we're in that moment and I'm noticing that it's late at night. I'm doing the dishes. I'm tired. I don't know what it might be, but just something critical or something that, like, what do you do with noticing those kinds of things? Noticing parts of yourself maybe that, like, I wish I had done this, or I wish I would be doing that. Like, how do you, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So when we start taking notice of the I wish I had, or I wish this were different, what we often do is we sort of lose ourselves in the past. And we focus on what we wish we had changed, very similarly to the way that we were talking last week about, sort of this penance. We get lost in this self-defeating behavior, this self-judgment. What's my problem? That kind of thing. And so this is a perfect opportunity to engage the present moment differently, and to say, I don't like the way I handled myself. I don't like the way I modeled my character. How can I use my energy right now differently? So the present moment is really powerful. And sometimes when we're having trouble, recognizing the present moment, we can use our surroundings, observing and describing, to bring us back in. We can even change our surroundings. Hey, I observe that I'm inside. I notice the temperature. I step outside and I describe the difference now in the present moment. If I'm struggling, a lot of people with anxiety, they get panic attacks. And this observe and describe, being really present in the moment, actually helps the panic attacks be smaller and last less time. If we panic about the panic, oh my goodness, I'm getting all sweaty and my heart's racing and all. It builds the anxiety. If we start to go, okay, I know what this is. This isn't dangerous. I don't like this. This really sucks. This isn't, my hands are getting sweaty. My chest is getting tight. This is a panic attack. I just need to ride it out. By being present, the panic attack actually stays lower and lasts less time. And sorry about that alarm.
Hey, we're just going to notice that, and it's okay.
Well, it's an alarm. I have an alarm every night to pray for my wife. And
there it is.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Because ADD boy here can't remember to do anything without an alarm. At any rate, we have trouble listening because we're not very good at being in the present moment. And this really is an issue. If we want to hear God, we have to be present. There's an interesting passage. Jesus is talking with a crowd and he calls on God, and God actually audibly speaks from heaven. And some say, oh, I hear thunder. And others say, I think an angel spoke. There's this dichotomy of Some people, they're distracted by whatever they're doing. They can't hear God's voice because they're just not present enough. They're too distracted by their own agendas. They're whatever. Okay. And the Spirit of God is speaking all the time in the present moment.
Yes.
But here's the interesting thing about the Spirit of God. In the book of John, it says that the wind and spirit, the word for wind and spirit are the same. The wind blows where it pleases. The Spirit blows where it pleases. So the Spirit of God is always speaking. It's not very predictable. So if we're not paying attention, if we're not fully present, we're going to miss it. So we have to become good windsurfers if we want to be connected to what God is doing in the present moment. And to illustrate this, windsurfing and surfing are not really the same thing, but my wife and I used to live in California, and we had a lot of surfing friends. I wasn't very good at it. We would do it, but there's a whole culture around this. And people would literally, practically wear their wetsuits under their work clothes so they would never miss a wave. They would stand at the shoreline and they would watch because they did not want to miss where the waves were going. And when they saw it, when the wave was moving, bam, they were off. They were fully present in the present moment, fully present in investing themselves in watching those waves. And so in a season where we are anxious, we're overwhelmed, we're spent, and we don't have the steam on our own, and our instinct is to scramble in a million different directions, or pull the covers over our head, or think about how much better it would be if, or think about the good old days, or why I didn't do this. Instead of just being in the present moment, we miss out on how God can carry us into the best version of the present moment that we need to be in at that time. And so this is critical. If you don't have good tools to listen, I can give you some. Why don't we talk about a couple of these?
Give us some tools. Come on, baby. What we got?
Right. So one tool, and I'll give you a couple kind of psychological mindfulness tools and maybe some with a little bit of a spiritual twist. So one tool that I use a lot with people to help them just kind of reground to the present moment is breathing color, which sounds kind of funny. But what you do is you pick a color to represent calm or peace.
Okay.
And then you pick a color to represent chaos or stress. And what you do is you sort of quiet yourself, you just center your breathing, and then you begin to imagine almost like, what colors did you pick for calm and stress?
Calm is camouflage. Does that count?
Sure. Camo works.
The stressful color is red.
Okay. Camo sounds sort of like chamomile, which is a very calming.
See?
Yeah, I think, okay, you're onto something.
It's duck season, so I've got camouflage on the brain.
That's fine. Okay. So imagine almost like on a cloudy day when the fog is hanging low. There's like a mist in the air, right? So imagine there's this kind of camouflage mist.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
And so every time you breathe in, you close your eyes and you imagine this. You breathe in deeply through your nose. You breathe in this calm camouflage mist. And every time you breathe out that red, almost like on a cold winter's day when you can see your breath out through your mouth. So you imagine yourself taking in the calm and breathing out the stress.
Well, I like that.
Okay. And so you do this for a few minutes. Now, I'll often give this exercise just like that. Okay. But let's say you were really trying to be present with God while doing an exercise like this. You could take scripture, and you could breathe it with this color exercise. So you could say, "Come to me, and I will give you rest."
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
I like the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You can use that one. You can use a little.
I think I might.
Good one.
So that's sort of a twist on a breath prayer.
Yeah, I like that.
Along with a mindfulness exercise.
That's cool.
And there are a number of mindfulness exercises that can be done. You can use counting. So some people who have trouble sleeping at night, and I imagine a lot of people are right now, a great exercise to help you be present in the present moment and a way to fall asleep is to count backwards from 300 by threes in your head. Now, your goal is not to get down to zero, and it doesn't matter if you mess up the numbers. The point is in a very non-judgmental way towards yourself. Oh man, we don't do that to ourselves. That's counterintuitive. We just kind of say, okay, I'm going to anchor my brain to this one thing. So I'm counting. So instead of all the 18 different things that my mind is trying to anchor itself to, it's now anchored to this one thing. And it takes enough concentration that it kind of quiets the other stuff down, but it's not so exciting that it actually wakes you up. So it becomes this singular thing, this singular focus that you can do while you're trying to drift off to sleep. There's muscle exercises, and there's imaging ways to do it, and there's physical ways to do it, but tensing and relaxing different muscle groups to, again, just be present, even present with yourself. Am I aware of the tension that I'm carrying in different parts of my body? And so the more that we practice being present, the more we're able to engage the present moment in a helpful way. So I'll end with this one little thought.
Could I ask you something before you end with the thought?
Oh yeah.
You know, I think we're the most distracted people in human history. And I think research is showing that, you know, how apps are, you and I were just talking about the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It's the most important book I've read in 2020. Highly endorse it. Unbelievably powerful. And in that book, you know, he talks a lot about how these companies literally have the technology and the ability, like the apps they are creating are literally meant to distract us.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that has just rocked me. And so in the book, he talked about some, you know, kind of tools, tips, hacks around. One was making your smartphone a dumb phone, and I talked about that on the show last week. But yeah, it's nearly impossible to be in the present moment when you've got alerts going off left and right. When it's an alert to pray for your wife, that's a good one. But you know what I'm saying? It's like when your phone is buzzing, when your watch is buzzing, when you've got, I mean, we're setting ourselves up to not be in the present moment. And another thing that he talked about in the book that I started doing is parenting my phone. And so, you know, something I think I've done it now for 4 weeks where my phone now has a bedtime, just like my kids. And so my phone at 8:30 p.m. has a bedtime, and I leave it downstairs. It doesn't come up to the room with me. And then I don't greet it until 8:30 in the morning. And so I have like an hour, you know, a couple hours in the morning, a little bit more than that, with God, totally not distracted. I'm not responding to an sharpened mind to all the alerts and the messages and all this. No, I'm like, anyway, that just to add to a couple of those tools, that has been so helpful for me to make my smartphone a dumb phone. I've deleted Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everything from my phone and email. And then secondly, starting to parent my phone. And it doesn't go up to the room. It has a bedtime. And it seems like the world is still spinning, which has been a mystery.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fantastic, Jon. Yeah. I actually am inspired to maybe play around with
give it a shot.
some of those thoughts. Yeah. So I don't recall where this comes from. This is a secular book that this comes from, but it tells a story of something along the lines of, imagine that you are you're being chased by wild dogs who are trying to eat you alive. Mm-hmm. And you come to the edge of a cliff and there's a vine, and you climb down the vine and you get halfway down the vine only to notice that there is a lake at the bottom with dozens of hungry alligators that want to eat you as well. And the rope is breaking. Mm. Okay. But at eye level, there is this growing out of the side of the cliff is this single red ripe strawberry. Now, inevitably somebody's going to say, I'm allergic to strawberries. Well, it could be a Lou Malnati's pizza. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay. There's a Lou Malnati's pizza growing out of the side of this cliff. All right. The question is what does it look like to be present in the present moment? When it feels like every direction is just despair, do I stare at the despair, or do I really immerse myself in enjoying that red ripe strawberry? And there's two principles here that I think are important. One is, a lot of us feel like we're kind of trapped. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. And there are a lot of red ripe strawberries around us that we're not taking advantage of because we're so focused on them. We need to take a minute to think about, what are those strawberries? It might be a good friend. It might be a spouse. It might be our children. It might be a value of compassion that we want to embody in, building into somebody else's life. It might be generosity that we could be investing ourselves in. Whatever it is, we're missing it. And so we need to take a moment to think about, what are those strawberries? And not only that, but remember, although this comes from a secular book, we know that God's presence is found in the present moment. And so wild dogs, alligators, breaking rope, that's not too big for God. And if we take the time to embrace the best version of the present moment and enjoy that red ripe strawberry, we're actually joining with God in the present moment, who is actually the one who says, no weapon formed against you will prosper, who says he will guard you with his righteous right hand. He will enfold you in the shadow of his wings. He will keep you safe. And so let's not get overly distracted by the wild dogs and the alligators that are terrifying us in this season and overwhelming us. Let's embrace the best of what is.
That's so good, man. I'm gonna go get some strawberries next time I'm at Jewel. I'm never gonna look at strawberries the same way. Hey, this was such a gift, Bryan, and just on behalf of myself and our church community at Mission and so many other folks that watch the show that, aren't part of our church, don't go to a church, some that live out of state, man, thank you so much. The amount of time you've been devoting to this show is truly, truly a gift to help so many that are struggling right now find these strategies. And so, man, what a gift you've been. Hey, if you are watching this right now at wearemission.online, a link is coming up. It is the YouTube link. Please, if you would, share this with a friend. Sharing is caring. If you're watching this on Instagram, TV, go ahead and send this to a friend. Why not? Let's get the word out if you're watching this. Any other way, we are just thrilled that you are taking in the content. If you're listening to this with Apple Podcasts, if you would, you could rate it and review it. I love you guys. And that's all we got for episode 8. I'll see you guys on Friday morning for episode 9. Have a great one.